Okay. Okay, my friends, this is the Take What You Need podcast, a unscripted, unplanned, and open-minded discussion between two individuals. And the premise being that throughout the conversation, us within the conversation and you, the listeners, can take whatever you need from the discussion. I am half of the discussion today. I'll be your host. My name is Sean McQueen. I am 37, small business owner, veteran, and dog lover. A little bit about me. And my special guest, who I cannot wait to talk more with, is Heather Rancourt. Heather, please go ahead and take the floor and intro yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. I am Heather. I am 39, soon to be 40, 38, soon to be 39 in a couple of weeks of my last year of my 30s. I am a mom of two. I am a massive dog lover and a fitness enthusiast, I like to say.
Love it. I love it. Now, I'm going to hit you with a tough opening one. Are you
Oh
ready?
boy, I don't know.
You want a soft opening one?
No, hit me hard. Go ahead.
I asked a dear friend this question the other day, and man, it just sparked some good convo between a friend and I. What across your life is one of and you don't have to go into detail about it, but what is one of the bigger mistakes that you've made, and how did you learn and grow from it now being on the other side of it?
Okay, so this is a good one. I like this one. And it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Um, I like to tell people that I have done a lot of things in my life that I choose or will choose not to share with my children. I never want them to know some of the things that I've done. Um, but I don't regret anything. I think everything has led me to where I need to go. The only thing I regret, a mistake that I think I made, was not finding CrossFit sooner than I did. That's the only regret, the only mistake I think that I've ever made. Just because of where I am now, on the other side, I wish I had just had more time to do this and work on myself more. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
really, really it.
Okay, I like that one. I like that one. Now, you said you have two kids. How old are your kids?
My youngest is Tori. She is 13,
Mhm.
just turned 13 this past February. And then my oldest is 16. She just turned 16 in September. And we are actually taking her this afternoon to go get her permit. So wish me luck.
Wow, that's big. That
Yeah,
is big. Good luck for
scary.
sure. I had a moment with you, and I want to ask you a parenting question here in a second. I had a moment with you recently. We shared space at the 10-year celebration at your gym, and you opted in. You weren't planning it, but last minute at 9:30, which I've never seen anybody work out at 9:30. You and some of your peeps did a workout, and I couldn't help but notice, was this your oldest daughter?
Was my oldest. Yeah, Tess.
At this event, there's there's an award-winning DJ playing and a violinist, and it's just this beautiful, like really cool scene. Yet she's eyes on you and cheering and encouraging you on in such, like, just looking at it in such a genuine, loving, and authentic way. Not, come on, mom, like half engaged. It was sincere. It was really special to see. And I mean, you're on a machine, so like you're in the zone. Um, and I just thought that was so special. So, and it made me even more curious, your relationship with your daughters. And so maybe I'll ask you, um, what jumps out when you think about parenting two young women, um, with your life experience, approaching your early 40s, you're engaged in health and wellness, you lead and change people's lives for a living now. They're at really impressionable ages and stages of life development. Um, what do you think or feel, or what's on your radar with that?
So the number one thing that I always tell my kids, this is something that always sticks with me, and they know number one rule is to be kind. That
Mhm.
is the biggest thing. Um, I want my children to always be remembered as being kind, number one. Number two is to be strong, and that is to be strong, not only physically, but mentally as well. We've been through a lot. My kids were young when COVID happened. That was scary for them. They had no idea what was going on. Um, Taken out of school, they're very social kids. So that was scary for them. And then shortly after that, their dad and I went through a divorce. And I always wanted to be open, honest with them every step of the way. Um, I've always wanted them to be open and honest with me and never be afraid to come to me for anything. So I
Mhm.
knew that this was a big thing for us to be completely open and honest with them, answer any questions, and never hide anything from them. So going through that with them, and now take us 5 years, almost 5 years later, the the way that we've grown together is pretty amazing. Um, we have our ups and downs. They're teenagers.
Mhm.
Anyone who is out there, anyone who knows anyone who is raising two teenage girls, check on your friends. They are not okay. We have our ups and downs, but like the biggest thing is be kind, be strong, and be open and honest.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Before we began recording, if you're comfortable, you shared with me a little bit about this major transition of life and lifestyle pre the divorce. And going from a certain level of lifestyle to this really major shift and the changes that you as a family chose to make. Would you mind, if comfortable, unpacking that a little bit? I think there's a lot of value
yeah,
there in terms of that story.
yeah, totally. Um, Back when I was still married, girls were very young. My husband at the time was an operating engineer and worked down at the Tappan Zee Bridge, long hours outside in the cold. And it was a great paying job. I was a stay at home mom. I was able to stay at home. We were able to live very comfortably. And his passion was to become a firefighter. He had literally, since the time he could put a fire hat on, he would put it on himself, and we have pictures of him as a child dressing up as a firefighter. So that was a dream of his. And, at the age of, I think we were around 28, he took the test and he got offered a position that was going to give us a very, very, very large pay cut. Something that I don't even think you could possibly have a family of four living on. And we didn't listen to what anyone said. Everyone said, "You're crazy. I can't believe you're going to do this." And we did it. I supported him every step of the way. We made cutbacks. I mean, we got rid of our cable. We got rid of anything that was going to, be extra for us so that he could do this. He went to the fire academy for 13 weeks. So I was a stay at home mom, single mom during the week while he was away, Monday through Friday, for 13 weeks. And then, for the first year, it was really hard living on a salary that, like I said, could barely take care of a couple, let alone a family of four. But we did it. And like I said, I told you, we put ourselves into debt, credit card debt, but we climbed our way out. We did not ask for help monetarily from anybody. We really tried to do that all on our own. But with the help of like friends and family, with our kids, and being super supportive, like we came out of that. He now is still a firefighter, loves his job. I don't regret anything that we did in order to get him there, because that's where he belongs. So it's pretty cool that we were able to do that together.
Mhm.
And I still look back on it and I think that's such an amazing thing that we were able to do as a family of four. We supported each other the entire way.
I have two questions from that. One is more of takeaways and kind of growth, and then one is going to be maybe a little bit more on the deeper end. We'll save the deeper end for the second or the back
Okay.
half. Looking back now, knowing what you know now from that experience, going from what sounds like a really comfortable living And bless you for supporting him to follow his passion, despite knowing that the lifestyle is going to change, the economics are going to change, and all the outside noise, which again is just very obvious for the life we live in. Um, what would you say are like the top two or three things that you learned or gained going through that experience? Now being, a little bit removed from it.
Money does not matter. Money doesn't matter. And um, I will say numerous times, there's no amount of money that will ever make or add to your happiness, honestly. That has to come from within. And that is something that, like, you know, it just kills me, that people are constantly chasing, chasing, chasing. Yes, money does make life very easy, but it doesn't make people happy. So that is definitely one of them. And looking back now, I think to myself, wow. I mean, we were six-figure salary to bare minimum, and that was a drastic change.
Mhm.
Um, so that is number one. Number two is like the support and the village that you have to have in order to get through something like that. I cannot thank our family and our friends enough. And those of them that thought we were crazy and thought we were just, that's so stupid. Why would you do that? They have exited our lives, and we are thankful for
Oh, if I could, I would hug you through the screen.
that.
Um, I, as your friend, picked up on what an amazing ability. These are things that I attribute to myself, and I wonder if you do for yourself as well. Resilient and resourceful. Like, my goodness, to
Yeah.
to be so steadfast mentally with the change, to be like, we'll make it work. We'll find a way. I love that, and I really resonate with the energies of that. Speaking of being resilient, which leads me into more of the deeper question. A breakup is hard, let alone divorce, and now
Yeah.
there's kids and all of the challenges that I would imagine are layered within this entirety of experience. And you were at stay-at-home mom still? Is that was
No, at this time,
Mhm.
so we ended up getting divorced shortly after COVID.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting divorced in 2021.
Mhm.
Um, and we always used to joke around because I feel like COVID just brought out the worst and the best in people, right? We always used to joke around. People are either getting pregnant during COVID or they're getting divorced. You know, we're home. This is what's happening. Um, and it was a hard time. COVID was a really hard time. We had just bought a house. That was our first house. We had lived in a double wide trailer for a very long time, the four of us, and my mom. My mom lived with us.
Mhm.
We had just bought a house in October of 2019. Fast forward to February, March of 2020, and COVID hit. And thank God we had this beautiful house, you know, to have all of us in. Um, but COVID was tough. You being isolated from people, not being able to go to my favorite place in the world, which is the gym, to work out and be with the people that I am trying to help every single day. That was really hard. Um, and then also at the time, my husband was, he's a firefighter at this point, and the restrictions on working with, people having COVID and then having to quarantine. And that was really hard for him as well. He had a really hard time staying home when he was supposed to because he was, um, what they thought was contagious at the time, or and all the rules and regulations that they had that we didn't have. It was really hard for him not to be at work. So we were, as much as it was a gigantic house, it felt like a small room because we were, kids not going to school and all that. So in that year, we learned a lot about each other, ourselves, and I started to find myself. I have a 16-year-old and I'm going to be 39 this year. So I was a young mom. Um, And I think I just lost myself for a while. And not only did I lose myself, but I also was trying to hide a part of myself.
Mm,
So I think that year really put into perspective of like where I felt like I was supposed to be and
mm,
where I really wanted to be.
hmm.
So that was a big lots of changes for us.
Yeah. And I mean, I wonder now, like seeing you now and being a little bit on, you know, past that part, um, hearing you share, I almost capture, and I wonder if you would agree, it helped you connect with that part of yourself or come to what you needed to or what you wanted to come with that. And whether that was the pandemic, you know, providing that opportunity or whatever you would want to label it, you know, maybe I extracted a little beauty out of that, you know,
Yeah.
amidst it being a
Yeah.
difficult thing with, you know, the layers that are involved, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
How, if you're comfortable, how did you navigate that next stage where you mentioned finding yourself, you're divorced or divorcing, the world's a little bit uncertain at this point, you're not getting to do the thing and be around the people, and I could just imagine that being even more stressful in that sort of context with the way that's surrounded. I'm almost curious to ask, where did you navigate the strength?
Yeah. Well, by the time we actually decided to split up, a lot of things had opened up. We were back at the gym. We had done a lot of outdoor fitness. We were very lucky to have an outdoor space where we could be outside. So I was able to train again, and that was hard because the anxiety of everything would raise my heart rate, and then I'd cry. And I've never done so much crying and tears of happiness and sadness all at the same time. But a lot of it I have to attribute to the fact that um, during the first, I would say, um, probably like 6 months of it all, my ex husband was uh, probably as the most supportive as he possibly could be, and more.
Mm,
Um, it was a very hard transition, but he co-parent fantastic with me. We spoke regularly, and I think a big part of it was a big part of our marriage had just become that we were like best friends. So I just felt like we kind of transitioned into that, even though there were a lot of feelings still hurt, and we still were going through it. We really just wanted to be the best that we could be for our kids as well.
mhm,
That was probably the biggest thing, is that like we just wanted to be the best that we could for them, separately and together.
mhm. Heather, how does a stay-at-home mom turn into a health and fitness professional?
This is a funny story. Um, so before I became what I am now, uh, I went back to work as, and you're gonna get a kick out of this. I was a school lunch lady.
No way. Okay. Okay. Was not expecting that.
Nope. No, it was a job that I could have the same schedule as my kids.
Mm,
I, was able to get them on the bus. I was able to go to work, and then I was able to get home before they got off the bus, and they didn't know the difference. It gave us a little bit of money, and it started me on the path of getting back into the workforce because I had been a stay-at-home mom for almost 10 years.
mhm,
So it was a long time. So I did that. And at the time, I was going to the gym, and I loved going there. So that kind of took a little back seat because I needed to, the time that I normally would go to the gym was like 9 o'clock in the morning. So that kind of changed a little bit. And I remember sitting in the parking lot at my job, and I was on the phone with my husband at the time, and I was crying. And he's like, what is the matter? And I'm like, I don't want to be here. And he was like, where do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be at the gym. He was like, Heather, you cannot hang out at the gym with your friends all day. And he was like, if you can figure out how to make some money there, you can do that. So I was like, oh, can I do that? I don't know. Maybe I can. So I ended up getting part-time job at the gym. I was coaching kids classes, little kids classes. We called it like I think it was in the beginning. It was like Warlock Wee time. It was teeny like wee little kids. It was great. It was fun. So I started doing that part time, and I quit my other job. But that's
Mm.
where I wanted to be. So I was like, hey, if I can figure this out, I would love to do this. So that's how it started.
And now you're the head coach, at this gym. And for folks who do know, in my world, who know, like you're my like I envision you as Eric's right hand, and you to me are like my Abby.
Yeah,
It's just
I love that.
it's just comical. How did you take that career from the wee warlocks, the little ones, to now you have a thriving, meaningful, profitable career that you're serving people, you're changing lives, you're doing what you love. You just celebrated, 10 years of this business. Um, like what did that evolution look like for you?
So it's pretty cool. I think I just recently told you, like, Eric gave me some Evolve homework. He wanted to know where I was going, where the next step was. And I said, to myself, in order for me to know where I'm going to go, I need to look back at where I've been. So, started off doing the little kids Warlock We time. And when a full-time position opened up, I was like, hey, I think I want to do this. And at the time, I had my level one, and had been coaching like a few classes, and I applied and they gave me the full-time position. And there was only one full-time position at this time. So I was coaching a lot of classes, which I loved. I loved coaching classes. I love teaching someone a new skill or inspiring them to keep coming and just showing up, because we know that's the hardest part of this whole thing is just showing up.
Mhm.
So started doing that. And then Eric said to me, hey, if you want people to buy into you more, you gotta earn your street cred. And at this time, I had become what I would consider, I was fit, but I still was a little overweight. Not couldn't do a lot of gymnastics movements. Had to scale a lot. So he's like, you got to do something about your nutrition. So in 2000,
Can I
I
pause?
think it was
Can I
two.
pause you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt you. For those who know Eric, we talked about this a little bit at dinner one time. Like that man he could just be real raw.
yeah, yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah. I mean, and at the time, like when I joined CrossFit, I was 225 pounds, no muscle. I had two small children. I could barely stand up without pulling myself up, on the countertop or something. So getting fitter was great, but I did not have a great relationship with food. Definitely didn't eat properly, snacked a lot, things like that. So we did a nutrition challenge at the gym. I ate no processed food for 28 days. Probably one of the harder things that I've done. I remember I did it with my mom. It was fantastic. We even like made our own salsa if we wanted salsa, like we made our own sauce if we wanted sauce. Uh, so I remember doing that. And in 28 days, I lost 20 pounds. Yeah,
Wow.
20 pounds.
Wow.
And the best part about it is I still have my before and after pictures, and I keep those. They are like the first pictures in my photo album in my phone
I can't
back
even
from,
imagine you. Um, I didn't know that version of you. I can't even imagine a
yeah,
unhealthy, um, unfit version of you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and the crazy part is like I was thinking about it today. I look younger today than I did 10 years ago.
I believe
which
it.
is crazy, which
I
is
believe it.
crazy. And
Hmm.
it has to do with my fitness and my nutrition.
Hmm.
So that was like a big turning point for me, is understanding that like I can get rid of alcohol, I get rid of dairy, I could get rid of these processed foods that I really don't need. Um, and do this and then slowly incorporate certain things back into my lifestyle and not have it be a diet. So that was like the turning point, I think, for me when it comes to my career. Became a nutrition coach after that and just was so inspired to help women and men who were in the same situation as me.
Yeah. If I spin what Eric said a little differently, or maybe just out of it a little differently, which I credit to Eric for just, shooting it that way. I hear someone who finally committed to themselves and not just themselves, but to their health and what's possible on the other side. And knowing you now, like you look great, you are fit, you're my goodness, like I can't even imagine all the things that kind of have come out, especially hearing that you needed help to stand up. Like that's
Yeah.
just mind blowing. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, good on you, girl.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question about your connection with fitness and not necessarily CrossFit, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll set you up with something I reflected on or reflect on often is like when I think back to why and when I started working out, I can connect it to low confidence. I had feelings of insecurity. I didn't like how my body looked. And I see this with folks, and I would imagine you do too, as we work with people. There's this point of like it's not enjoyable for a certain amount of time. You're learning about your body, things are uncomfortable, running might not be fun, or burpees or whatever like the chosen path is. And that's why I think us coaching people, whether it's groups or small or one-on-one, is really helpful. I didn't start that way.
Yeah.
Starting that way, I think, gives you a superpower to commit long-term as a lifestyle. But when I connect back to like why I started, that was for me like the big reasons. It wasn't I liked running or I wanted to get in shape. It was I didn't like how my body looked or how I felt, and I wanted to change that. Can you connect your reasons for when you started? It might not be like I started and stayed with it. It started and there was a huge time lapse and then it came back later in life. But can you remember and connect the starting point?
Yeah. I was pretty like athletic and um I loved sports as a child. I played softball up until, in my I think my junior year of high school. Uh, Played softball recreational after. Um, I always seemed to like be athletic, um, but I now refer to myself as what was like skinny fat. Like I
Mm.
wasn't overweight, but I also I wasn't healthy. I
You're
wasn't
lacking
healthy.
muscle. Mhm.
Yeah. And then after I had kids, I feel like I kind of like let myself go because I was, two kids under the age of three. Was hard. That's hard. Your body changes. We all love that. Women love that. Um, we like to call this at the gym the pain point. What is your pain point?
Mhm.
What was the pain point that moment that you were like, I can't do this anymore? And I think my pain point was we had just gotten front loader washer and dryer, and I was so excited. And to kneel down in front of them hurt. I couldn't kneel down in front of them without pain, and I couldn't get back up to a standing position without pulling myself up on the washer and dryer. And I was like, this hurts. What am I doing? Um, and a mix of that was, not being muscular, not having the muscle mass that I needed at the time, being overweight, and then the foods that I was eating. I was eating a lot of foods that were supposed to be healthier. I was trying, I was doing my best of what I thought I should be eating. But it was a lot of stuff that was like inflaming me and not making me feel good.
Mhm.
So I think that was like the point where I was like, I need to do something. And at the time, Eric and his cousin had opened a gym, and my husband, was friends with them and they kept saying, just come try this, just come try this. And I was like, I'm not doing CrossFit. And he was like, just come do the yoga. So I bought myself a 10-pack of yoga for Christmas. And that was December of 2014.
Mhm.
And in January of 2015, I started and I loved it. Melissa, who was the yoga instructor, was a um, person I went to high school with. So it
Mhm.
was cool. I knew who she was. And there were a lot of times in the beginning where it was just her and I, because our community was small.
Mhm.
So I would get lots of one-on-ones in yoga. And then, yeah, then I went to the CrossFit Open one night in February and saw all these badass women working out. And I was like, I think I want to do this. I think this is good. It was inspiring.
What would you say to a mom in a similar position who maybe just had a baby, her second baby, who maybe relates to some of the things you described earlier in terms of how you felt, the struggles, the eating? What would you share that would be helpful in that position?
I think the biggest thing we constantly say this is just get started. That's the hardest part is just getting started. It's walking in the door and saying, I need the help. Um, I want to do this. Um, we always, we talk about that pain point. Like, what is that pain point? Why do you want this?
Hmm.
And a lot of times, like, it's not because like I want to be healthier and I want to be stronger. It's the fact that like you get up in the morning and what's the first thing you do? You go to the bathroom. What's in the bathroom? A gigantic mirror. And you're looking at yourself, you
Hmm.
know? And if you wake up every single morning feeling unhappy about what you see in the mirror, it's this part of like it's not vain. It's just I want to feel really good when I look at myself in the mirror.
Hmm.
We say this all the time. Most people just want to look really good, really they want to look good naked. That's it.
Hmm.
And then from there, cool, give me more muscle. Cool, I'm healthier. But I think the main thing is like as a mom, your body changes a lot. And you think it'll never be the same. It's not going to ever be the same. But how can we work around that? Just getting started and following a coach and being with a community that is so supportive of people and meeting them where they're at
Hmm.
is the best part.
Hmm. What does your work on yourself look like? I feel intuitive enough to pick up that you are one who has done some work on themselves across the time, and as am I. So what has that looked like? What works well for you, um, to help you become this amazing human you are?
I think the first thing that I did when I knew something was wrong and I needed a change, something didn't feel right, was I got a therapist.
Okay.
That was the very first thing.
Mhm.
And now that I had that experience, I joke around that when you're born, you get a social security number. You also should get the name of a therapist immediately. Because if I had a therapist that I could talk to on the regular, there's
Mhm.
things that like I'm one of those people. I think it's funny when people say like I don't talk to myself in my head. I'm like I constantly am in my head all the time, all the time. But there are some people who do not have that little voice. I think having a therapist,
Yes.
someone who is completely removed from your life that you
Mhm.
can just throw up everything at, and they can kind of like weave their web through it and just be like, hey, ask these questions, things like that. That is like number one. So I always tell everyone if you're at this point where you don't know what to do, just get a therapist. That is the biggest thing.
Mhm.
And then from there, the second biggest thing is boundaries. Boundaries in every aspect of your life. Boundaries with your spouse, boundaries with your kids. Uh, Probably my biggest one is boundaries with work. I have found myself at times because I am so passionate about my job and I love the people that I work with and I love the people that are at in my community. that I will go above and beyond and empty my cup so much. But the problem is when I empty my cup, it is empty. So if I am not constantly refilling that somehow for myself, you can only give so much before all of a sudden, like your cup is empty. So I think the biggest thing is putting up these boundaries and knowing that it is okay to be selfish at times.
Are there things that you do, whether it be each day or you have practices that help you fill that cup?
Hiking used to be a massive one. I did a lot of hiking back during COVID. I haven't done as much as I would like to in recent times. Um, I do very much in love. I love spending time with my children. So there has been times like Thursday nights. I have my children every Thursday night. Um, that is a night that my coworkers know I take off, and they're really supportive of that. I also just recently, within the last couple of months, have been able to take off Wednesday mornings. So like those are my two boundaries at work that my coworkers and my boss are really good about. And they understand that Wednesday mornings when I sleep in and I get a good, like, I'm talking 9 to 10 hours of sleep from Tuesday into Wednesday, I get a cup of coffee at home at bed. Like that is key to me making the back end of my week just phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's really, really important. I just recently picked up a hip hop class on Thursday night. So that's something that I'm doing for myself. Learning how to dance at 38 years old is really fun. It's scary and terrifying and it's hysterical.
I love
It's
that part of
great.
you. There's depth and fun all bundled up in one for sure. What was I? You said something there that um relating as a fellow coach and just knowing pouring into people and also holding space for people. You and I both know this is not just about teaching movement or the squat or how to do something. You're deeply connected, immersed, and care at such a insane level
Yeah.
about people and their well-being. And the word I associate with what you're talking about with like the morning of Wednesday or the Thursday evenings, or for me, like the weekend and a half is like recharging, plugging back in because you're giving so much out of love and passion and contribution and
Yeah.
everything. You love to do this. And I totally relate, and I hope others do too, in terms of give, 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 give. If there's no, like you said, boundaries, which I love, and recharge, then our best selves are not showing up. We're at our edges. We're reactive. We're not showing up the best way that we can or giving out the best to these people who we love and we care about.
Yeah. It's so important. I mean, we say best hour of their day has to be when they're there. So, you know, me having a bad day or me being tired or, like that can't matter. So I need to make sure that I am at my best in order to make it so that they can be at their best.
Have your daughters ever told you what they think of you being a health and fitness professional?
No. So my oldest dances. Um, and it's been a struggle, especially I feel like in the teenage years right now. We went through a little stint where my kids didn't want to eat. They went through this like, I'm not hungry. And I like, we were getting actually really nervous. And they both had therapists. And the therapist mentioned to me that they mentioned that mom is very health oriented. And I immediately felt crushed because I was like, oh my God, my kids think I'm like pushing this on them. And I never wanted it to be that. I never wanted to like force my things that I like to do or what I think is the best thing for them to do. Um, so like I dabble in giving them things here or there. Um, but I definitely don't push anything. Every now and then Tori will be at the gym and she's like, I want to work out. And I'm like, cool, like let's do it. I'll never forget. She picked up a kid's barbell once and did Grace with me, which was amazing. Um, So like I never force them to do anything that they don't want to do. Um, we've made a couple like rules like, hey, if you're gonna have cereal, you have to have cereal with a protein shake. So we do almond milk with a vanilla protein and they get to have a bowl of cereal, you know? So there's little things like that. But other than that, like they, now that they're older and they're seeing it, I think they're starting to realize that like we're, we're just trying to be better than we were yesterday, you
Mhm.
know, and that I'm just worried for their well-being and I want them to be healthy and I want them to be happy. We know like, and this was something that we've just recently found out, you know, I think it was like a year and a half ago, my oldest just went through this bout where she didn't want to eat. You know, every now and then she pizza, chicken fingers, french fries, but like anything else she didn't want to eat. It was almost like food just made her just like feel sick. Um, and she was depressed and she just wasn't happy, wouldn't talk to us. And then we started just implementing these little things like the protein with the cereal, just trying to get them to understand that like not everything has to be healthy, right? Like we love going out and having burgers and fries and all that stuff. But just eating in general and being, you know, satiated. Um, we joke around now that like my 16-year-old, we're like, oh, she just had a really good meal because she's talking up a storm and she's happy to see us. And, you know, so I think it's definitely been something that they pushed away for a while. But it was really cool, you know, on Saturday when you mentioned like I loved seeing that. Um, that doesn't happen all the time. So the fact that you got to witness that and then you got to tell me how great it was, like that was even more great for me that you saw that and you witnessed that and like that made you happy.
Oh,
So that was
even of course, even as you were sharing, I would feel like it would be a disservice not to share this. To give you from a very like I have not seen the 16 years of your you being a mom to these young ladies. But three things stood out to me. One, when you changed your life and prioritized your own health, that course corrected what could be a very different experience if you were that same version of you who could not get up, who was not happy with how they looked and felt. And there could be a certain path that those girls followed suit because
yeah,
that's the helm, that's the leadership, that's that was mom. So like that's one, like committing to yourself because you're an influence, you're an example, you're their mom. And not to say that it was all for them. I'm sure there was a piece of that, but that's huge. Two, like the little things that you're injecting in the home that make a big difference that are going to just help them nutritionally of like eating more protein to be full, to keep their bodies feeling good, their skin, their hair, all that stuff that's important and not, still keep in some things that they like. Of course, human, be a kid, be human, or just be the ability to kind of have that stuff and not be so rigid. Um, and then lastly, that third one was the example you're setting by what you're doing. And like, what a cool story from I was a stay-at-home mom to now I'm this health and fitness professional. And like, again, you weren't necessarily coaching in that realm. I know, I would imagine they've seen you do your thing and do your thing well. And mom's got a voice, mom's influential, mom's, powerful and what it can represent to them. And I just think about it as planting seeds. Like you can do anything you set your mind to. You commit, you can change. You were once overweight and out of shape and now you're in really great shape and you're really healthy. You were at a spot where maybe you weren't happy in a relationship and you said, "Well, I'm going to change that." And look at where you're at now. You were a school a school lunch lady, nothing wrong with that. You were a school lunch lady, and and
yeah,
you followed a passion. So just the leadership level without being like that's my intent. But then what are your girls learning? It's to me
yeah,
I'm like I'm inspired by the story, and those things don't even sound like I'm doing it because of this. It's
yeah,
they're getting that because you're choosing to become and work towards your best self and you're gonna in the process, I have no doubt, raised two amazing human beings.
Yeah, I mean, they have been so supportive over the last, I would say, 3 years. I also, in addition to coaching at the gym and doing nutrition, took on a role as the assistant water polo coach over at Marist a couple years ago. And it takes me away from my kids a lot during season. And they've been super supportive of it. It was something that like I spoke to them about, made sure it was okay, told them how much this would take me away from them. They were so supportive. My youngest comes on bus trips with us. She loves it. She loves the team. So I think that kind of leveled me up as like a little bit cooler of a mom because now I'm hanging out, coaching these college ladies. So that was that's cool, and just letting them know that like at, I'm 30, I'm going to be 39. So at 37, I was offered this position and was like, yeah, cool. Like, we're going to do something completely different. Uh, and that I did it, like that for them, I think is really cool to see as well. Like at 37, you can decide to do something else as well, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last question I'll ask you here in regards to coaching. I mean, my goodness, with your time and tenure, you've coached it all. Where right now are you most are you finding the most joy and fulfillment in your work and your passion? And not to isolate to say you don't feel it in, say, nutrition or group, like is there something that's stemming to the top of like, man, I'm getting a lot of fulfillment in doing this? Maybe it's the water polo thing.
I think I don't know if there's one thing. It's really hard to like narrow it down to one thing. One of I think there's two right now. Um, Nutrition with people and helping people with nutrition is probably my favorite thing right now. And I think it's because my changes with my own lifestyle have had such a positive impact on me that I know that changing other people and helping them with that it's going to drastically change their lives. I mean, you've seen it. I know you guys do the work in that gym of yours. Like that is one of the best things. It is one of the best things. I have a woman right now. We've been working together since last December. She is down 35 pounds. She already had her one goal of dropping down from a size 14 to a size 10. She's already at a size 8. Like these are people that like just want to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like to help someone along that path is that's one of my favorite things. Um, Another one of my favorite things is helping someone do something that they've never done before. I
Mm-hmm.
love when someone gets a handstand push up, which shout out to my girl Daniela in my semi private this morning who got her first handstand push up ever. Um, that is one of my favorite things. A first bar muscle up, a first chest to bar, a first kipping pull up, like those little things to us, like they're massive things to people. To be able to do something that like at 40 plus years old has never done in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then lastly, my water polo stuff, like that, the joy I get out of connecting with these women who are some of them 18 years old, just, freshmen in college to 22 years old, getting ready to go out into the real world, playing a sport that they love, that they have been, most of them playing since they were old enough to walk. Um, and connecting with those ladies as well as traveling the freaking world with them. That has been amazing. That is a favorite part of mine. Last year we went to Greece. The year before we went to Hawaii. Like those are things, those are experiences that I will never forget. Um, that I get to do with these ladies on a regular basis.
I feel like I could talk to you for days.
I do too.
I want to be mindful of your time here and also leave you with saying I think you are a tremendous human, mom, coach, of course, athlete, and friend. I mean, my goodness. And I look forward to sharing more space and, connecting more. I'm super grateful for all of what you shared here. There's value from the beginning all the way through. And I'm just so grateful for your time. If there were anyone out there that connected or resonated and wanted to maybe connect with you on something, where would they do that?
So over the last couple of weeks, I've been taking a little social media hiatus, one of those boundaries that sometimes you got to put up.
For sure.
But I will be venturing back onto social media. So Facebook, Instagram, I will definitely be back on there. You can always hit me up in my email, Heather at warlockathletics.com. And then, of course, I'm sure, Sean, you could find me.
Heather, thank you so much.
Thanks, Sean.